Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is part 84 of Miss Chastity's story, the woman that married a man that didn't exist. So if you're seeing this for the first time, it means you need to start from the beginning. The link to the description, what am I even saying? The link to the playlist will be in the description. Kindly go start from there. So let's continue.
84 of How I Married a Man That Didn't Exist. So in February, the girls did come and stay the weekend with me. This was obviously not the first weekend I moved in. It was the very next weekend. So I had only been out of the house for a week. So it felt so good to have them in my home, and it felt good to have it be filled with warmth and laughter. So I cooked dinner for them. We had a movie night. We went to the park the next day. I missed them so much already. Like, it was a very weird transition of going from seeing them every single day. Homework, dinner, showers, tuck in bed. You know, it was a very weird transition to go from being someone's everything to almost feeling like I was nothing. Like, I show my love in a lot of ways. I encompass every single one of the love languages, but I show the majority of my love through acts of service. I really like to do things for others that make their lives easier, that provides comfort, that provides some kind of relief, peace. So the doing the dinners, the helping with homework, the tucking in bed, the fixing hair and putting band-aids on knees when it comes to children, that is how I mothered. That is how I loved and operated. So you go from being, you know, mom, and it was overwhelming at times, to dead silence. And like I said in the previous video, the silence was so loud. It was almost unbearable. It's one of those things where you can hear every floorboard creak. You can hear every movement in the house. It was just eerie for so many different reasons. At this point, I was in therapy weekly. I was still having nightmares about Rob most nights. Now remember, I had been started on medication for PTSD back in December. And while this medication did work and it did provide me some relief, there were times where these dreams would get through. And if I was feeling particularly stressed, if I was feeling particularly emotional, it seemed as if the medicine was less effective and the dreams came through more. When I tell you about these dreams, you guys, there's a lot I can't say on here because I'll take my ass down. But these dreams were gruesome at times. I would wake up heart racing, not knowing what was reality and what was not, scared out of my mind. They were horrible dreams. So my mental health hadn't gotten any better, and in fact it got worse, and it stayed that way for a long time. So we're only in February, but just to kind of foreshadow a little bit, February, March, April, May, things started easing up around June, and then got bad again in July. Like, I was in a really bad place. I was not okay. And I told my psychiatrist, I said, listen, I don't know what we got to do, but we got to do something. I genuinely felt, and I told my doctor this word for word, and I think I've said this in another video, I felt like I was doing just enough to stay employed and stay out of the morgue. I was going to bed at 6 p.m. every day, and I would not get out of this bed until 6 a.m. the next morning when I had to go to work. I was not taking care of myself. I was not eating properly. I was not taking care of my diabetes. I was not doing anything other than exactly what I had to do to make sure I had a paycheck coming in. So, I don't know if therapy was helping or not, but I enjoyed talking to someone about what was going on in my head. I had Ariel there. I had Jawan there. I had my parents there. And they allowed me to talk about it as much as I wanted, as much as I needed. And it was every day. Tears, sobbing, crying, pain, rehashing, trying to figure out timelines, trying to put puzzle pieces together. I was driving myself insane, but I couldn't stop. I tried so hard to make sense of everything. And my therapist told me, Chastity, you're never going to understand this because it doesn't make sense. You cannot make sense out of a situation that just doesn't make sense. You will never have clarity because what happened shouldn't have happened.
I guess this is why you hear people say, oh, I need closure. I want to get closure. I guess it's because of questions like this. They need, answers to why me? Why did you choose me to be your victim? But in this case, if we're being honest, if she wants to also be truthful to herself, somebody like Rob, Mr. Rob, will never give anybody any closure. He would rather look for a way to diminish you. He will look for a way to pull you down so that you feel worse than you were even before you left him. That's the kind of person he is. I think maybe, I don't know if we should call it as a trauma response. He wants people to feel bad. He doesn't want people being happy. So he will go to any length to ensure that you are not happy. That's what I'm also taking from these whole stories that we've been listening to all this while. But you guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong.
You weren't broken up with. You were discarded. Wow. Discarded. Discarded like a piece of trash. Discarded like I meant nothing, like I am nothing, like I've always been nothing. Discarded. Like something that's lost its value. Like something that has lost its usefulness. Discarded. That was hard for me to hear, but that's exactly what happened. And I didn't do anything wrong. And even if I had done anything wrong, there was no deserving in this. And that made it all the more difficult to try to wrap my head around. And my therapist told me that was a defense mechanism. That in my mind, if I could somehow justify, if I could somehow explain, if I could somehow understand why he had done what he'd done to me, then I could justify my pain. I could lessen my pain. I could put it in a box and label it with something and put it away. But I couldn't do that. There was no understanding and there was no box to put this pain in. So there was little to no communication about Rob between Emily and myself for a long time. Going back through the text messages, it was normal, everyday conversation stuff. Talking about the girls, talking about my day, talking about the cats. There was no communication about him. Now, mind you, I have a burner Facebook account, and I did then. I'm checking religiously. I'm checking his page. I'm checking Amber's page. I am waiting to see an update in anything so I can maybe put the puzzle pieces together. Obviously, I don't listen to my therapist. February 20th, I got laid off from my part-time job after being with the company for 3 years. This was the in-home addiction treatment program. I was devastated. I got laid off along with over 100 others within the span of 3 days. It was devastating. And I was at my other job when they did it. Everything seemed to be going wrong. So I had to find a new part-time job to support myself. My full-time is not enough to make sure I have everything I need and to have a cushion. So that landed me working 7 days a week. This was in February. We're now in September, and I am still working those same 7 days a fucking week. Okay? February 26th, I sold Emily my couch because I needed something smaller. My couch ate my living room. I could not have it in here. I loved that couch, but it had to go. I had asked her if she would send the $300 that she borrowed from me for Rob's program in with that couch money. Rob was supposed to pay it back. Now that he was working in the program. He was in this program. This was a verified fact. He had a job because he had to in this program. But I knew I'd never see that money. Emily said, I'll have to see what I have after I pay my bills. I had plans for my taxes. I'm done paying his debts. Ugh. But didn't you tell me that if you could just borrow that $300, you would give it back? And at first I said, don't even fucking worry about it. Don't pay me back. But then I went back and I was like, you know what? Actually, I'm going to take you up on that offer because I shouldn't have to foot this bill. Clock it.
The fact that at this rate, Miss Chastity is still expecting Miss Emily to be honorable, like, it beats me. Like, I don't understand. Or maybe she was just trying. Let me see. I think she expects the best from everybody. Like, she keeps giving the long rope.
So let's get into the next part and I will read what I said to her.
All right, guys. But what do you think about her expecting Miss Emily to pay back that $300, knowing the fact, that Miss Emily is tight on money, and again, she's not a truthful somebody. She doesn't, stick to her words. What do you guys think about that? Well, let's continue in part 85. See you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.